righty. Welcome back to Seminoles Sideline 365. My name is KB, and with me, as always, is the old man. Happy Friday. How is everyone doing tonight? Old man, how are you doing?
Friday's always a great day, isn't it?
Well, when you're retired, it is. I mean, every day's Friday when you're retired.
No, that's true. When you're retired, every day, as they say, is Saturday, and it's very true. You lose track of time. But when you're working, and we've all worked, and you're working, and most of our viewers are working, Thursday when you complete work, you feel differently going into Friday. Correct. Because Friday's like everybody's happy, and it's just going to be a good day. So Friday's always a good day. So then comes Monday.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to talk about that. We're excited to be here with you guys. So thanks for taking the time to be with us, whether you're watching live, you're watching on Saturday or Sunday. We appreciate you being here because we have a lot to go over. We're going to try to keep it focused tonight. One of the big topics we're going to be talking about tonight is what are the remaining questions for this quarterback room. And I got 5 questions that I'm going to ask y'all and the old man and see if he has good answers for me. If not, we'll discuss them. We'll debate them. But I think there's some outstanding questions that we can go over in the analysis of this QB room. Then we have some other things, big recruitment news that happened this past week, some 5-star news, which is always good to hear. And then ticket prices came out. Alabama game is sold out, but then it leaked like what single game price is going to be like. So we're going to talk about that. Great to see you, Jaylen. Thanks for coming by. So we have some big topics to talk about tonight. Mike, great to see you as well. We got some cool things to talk about tonight. So excited to talk about these things and get your comments, get your questions. So feel free to drop them live, drop them in the comments, whether you're watching live or a recorded. We appreciate you being here. Before we get started.
And I'm broadcasting live from my alternate studio in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Okay, actually Plymouth, Massachusetts. And I have my tech team, a new tech, set me up here in their studio. And shout out to my techie, Rob. Hey, Rob, appreciate it, man. He got me all set up here in the new studio. So he's standing by.
And if you're
where the hell did he go?
And if you're watching us, let us know what you're eating or drinking with us tonight. I am enjoying a Athletic Brewing Wits Peak right now. It's non-alcoholic, but it's really good.
What is it?
It's Athletic Brewing. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them. It's like a San Diego non-alcoholic brewery. It's really good. So that's what I'm having right now. What are you having, old man?
I'm doing a used water bottle, pure hydration water.
So whatever you're having, whether you're eating, drinking, or nothing at all, we appreciate you being here. So let's get right into it. We have a lot to cover, and I don't want to waste too much time here at the beginning. So, like I teased, and like we teased in the thumbnail, I think this Florida State team, they've revamped a lot. They've brought a lot of guys in off a 2-win season. You have to do that. That is, we had to make some changes, turnover in coaching, turnover in players. But the quarterback room is the engine, right? The engine room is the quarterback room. That's what everyone's going to look at in the media. That's what casual fans are going to look at and say, what does the quarterback position look like? And is that going to be a strength? Last year was not the strength. There was a lot of question marks around DJ, from game 1 on about was he the right guy that they brought in? Was that a mistake? Regardless of the players around him, offensive line, receivers, there was a lot of things going on. But I think we can all say DJ was probably not the right fit for the style of offense that Mike Norvell wanted to run. New offensive coordinator, new quarterback, Thomas Castellanos comes in. We know the history and some baggage he brings, but we know also the high upside that he brings. So a couple of questions I bring up and that I have for this QB room, and I want to give to you guys. For the first question I want to talk about when it comes to this quarterback room is the I'm trying to bring up my questions here. I got so many notes here. Okay. So the question I have right now, first one for you, old man, in the crowd out there, is do you think the addition of Tommy Castellanos is an upgrade, downgrade, or comparable replacement for DJ? Just player to player. What is your rating of that 2024 to 2025 QB switch as you see it today? All things standing, you look at his stats, you look at what he's done in the past, you look at what happened at Boston College. If you look at DJU versus Tommy Castellanos, just where we are right now, regardless of offensive line play, who would you rather have starting the season we're going into right now? Is it an upgrade, downgrade, or you see as a comparable player in terms of what they can do, throwing, running, athletic ability, and making plays out of nothing?
Well, yeah, I'll answer that, and I can answer that. I mean, I think it's a little bit more complicated because a lot depends on the offensive line. Obviously, the offensive line the last couple of seasons under Alex Atkins was a complete joke and was the worst in Division I football, probably, if you look at the stats. So when you have a terrible offensive line that it's a jailbreak every play, DJU basically was not the right quarterback in that type of situation. It just, I don't want to say it was unfair to him, but we thought he might be, DJU could run a little bit, and we thought he might run a little bit, but that really never materialized. He looked slow running the football. He seemed to be more of a drop back passer. I think he ran more early in his career, but in that regard, he was not good for that system.
No.
Tommy Castellanos can, I believe, adjust to a jailbreak line better than DJU could. So in this case, we don't know what the offensive line is going to look like in this 2025 season. We really don't know. We've brought in we've rebuilt the whole line basically again, except for a couple of guys, and through the portal. So they haven't played together. How many times do you hear in the NFL broadcast, well, these guys haven't played that much together? Well, these guys haven't played together at all. There's no preseason games to get used to each other. Our first game is against Alabama, and we're going to learn a lot about this offensive line right from the get-go. I think the offensive line, if it stays healthy, could get better, but we'll see how good they are. But for that type of situation, comparing DJ against Tommy Castellanos, I'm going to take Tommy Castellanos.
And what do you base on?
Because of his mobility, because of his ability to make a play during a jailbreak situation, which puts more pressure on the opposing defense. The opposing defense will have to they'll have to honor his ability to run the football and make big plays, much more than DJU. Once they figured out DJU was not a good runner, that game was the defense could really stack the box and control the game. I'm going to take Tommy Castellanos as a guy who can win more games for FSU with an unknown line, as DJU didn't do against against a very poor offensive line. So I take Tommy Castellanos.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's head and above, but when you compare the totals, obviously DJ had a lot more experience at quarterback than Tommy did. But
I think at this point in their careers,
I have the. Are you looking at the screen? I have it up. I have literally the stats up in front of you comparing the two.
Yeah.
So do you have a screen in front of you? Can you see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
No, I see it.
So it is. He has almost double the amount of games played. So you look at something like this, experience is one thing, and they both played in the ACC extensively. Tommy for 2 seasons almost. Rushing ability. You look at the rushing attempts. Now like you said, the experience. DJU wasn't a pure runner, but he did have the ability to rush. We saw it last year. It looked like he at times was running in concrete. I think there was an injury there or something he was coming off of where he just wasn't fully mobile. He looked heavy at times, whatever it may be. But I think you look at completing percentage, I do think DJU was probably a better pure passer, and we didn't really see that on display. I don't think he was a great passer, but I think DJU was probably, comparing the two, was probably a better pure passer. But you look at the numbers, they're not that far off either. So I can't say he was head and shoulders better than Tommy as a passer, because that's one of the downsides that people in the media and rivals will say is that Tommy can't throw the ball down the field. Well, and this is just looking at pure completion percentage. We could go dive deeper into the down the field and mid-range stuff like that. But they're about the same completing percentage wise. Interceptions, once again, if we double these numbers up, Tommy's going to come in right around DJU. So DJ did have his turnover issues at times as well. So I think they're very comparable. But as you said, Tommy's a different kind of athlete and a different built type of player than DJU. And I mean that in terms of he's more pure athleticism, and the ability to make something out of nothing is, I think, something we were lacking last year.
One of the things to point out, I believe, is again we have to factor in the offensive line. If Tommy Castellanos had the offensive line we had last year, which was horrible. I mean, it was just horrible. It was like rated last in Division I football. How do you think he would have done better than DJU? I say Tommy would have done better and probably would have won maybe a couple more games because of his ability to run.
Yeah, I can't play that, but I agree it would be the thing I'm going to compare it to is that Jordan Travis played at a Florida State team that, in my opinion, didn't have an elite offensive line either. Didn't even have a great one. Maybe had an average to good offensive line. But the ability for players to make plays out of nothing, or to continue, to break out of a sack, or to extend the play so guys can get open. Basically to supplement the downsides of your offensive line, to basically make them not have to be an elite offense. A great quarterback and a great mobile quarterback can kind of cover the negatives, the downsides of a bad offensive line. And I think that's what Jordan Travis did so well when he was here. Because you look at all the highlights people play of Jordan Travis, him breaking out of tackles, well, that's because the offensive line broke down so many times. When you look at the Florida plays and the replay, and you're like, that play shouldn't have happened because the offensive line shouldn't have broken down like that. But a great quarterback and an athlete is able to do something like that and then finish the play. And so I think that's not something DJU was able to do. And that's something that Tommy can bring to the table. That's not to say he's going to be the next Jordan Travis, but that's to say he has some of the intangibles, and we've seen that in some of his highlights as a player, that he can break a tackle, get out of a tackle. He can use his speed to extend the play or to be a dynamic player in the open field. So if a play breaks down, he can beat a guy in space. That just wasn't going to happen last year. So I think Tommy's ability to basically cover up the downsides of an average to below average offensive line is the benefit to us, and something we were missing last year. So,
and I think at this point, KB, that Tommy, and I know he's our quarterback now. We're not just saying this because he's our quarterback now. He's going to be here 1 year. Okay, we're gonna tell it like it is, or our reality and what our perception is. He seems to be a stronger leader at this point than DJ. DJ, I think it's well known, is not a vocal guy. He's tried to always do it on the field. I think with Tommy, you get a more vocal guy, which he's already put some bulletin board material out there for Alabama potentially. But he's a more vocal guy. He seems more confident coming into this situation. He feels like he fits better here with Gus Malzahn, and they have a history a little bit. And he seems to be the leader of this football team. Whether things go good or they go bad, I believe he is going to be the positive spark if he can stay healthy.
Agreed.
Because the unknown, there are a number of unknowns on this football team, which we'll get through over a series of episodes. But the unknown here is this offensive line. Because you want to be able, Gus Malzahn is going to want to run the football, which does what? It supplements his quarterback. It really puts pressure on a defense if we can run the football with the running backs with a average to above average offensive line, getting 80 to 125 yards on the ground. That is really going to put immense pressure on a defense when you have a running quarterback, a quarterback who can pass the ball, and a good running game. If he stays healthy, I think I'll tell you right now, we're going to win a hell of a lot more games than we won last year. I mean, it's just impossible not to.
I would agree with you on that. I would definitely agree with you on that. So the other question I wanted to bring up was, with the ability of, how big do you think, with the new coaching staff and we could go on and on about Alex Atkins and
we don't.
the co-offensive coordinator. I
joke.
think that relationship was stupid, and I think and I brought this up in past shows last year. I think Mike Norvell having his hands so much in the offense and being the head coach and being really the offensive coordinator too, even though Alex Atkins had that title, I think that was dumb and he was doing way too much. And I want to ask you, one of the questions I have about the progression of the quarterbacks this year was, how big of an impact do you think it will be to have Gus Malzahn in? Him leaving UCF, coming in, his history. How big of it do you think it is to have him come in as a real offensive coordinator and being implemented into this system? Do you think that makes a material impact? Does that win them extra games now that you have a veteran like that? How do you measure that impact? And do you think
I think it's a huge impact. I think it's a huge upgrade at an offensive coordinator. You've got one guy, a very experienced coach, head coach for most of his career, who is willing to accept this position. He's getting a little older, but this guy knows football. This guy knows offensive football. This guy's history is he wants to run the ball, okay? And he is going to run the football. And so I think just based on his knowledge and his experience, it's a huge upgrade. Alex Atkins as a offensive coordinator, co-offensive coordinator, whatever, was a joke. That was an appeasement by Mike Norvell to appease Alex Atkins when he thought Alex Atkins may be leaving the program. He thought he was able to get all these recruits because they were all 6'5", 330 pounds, but they couldn't play.
Yeah.
They couldn't play.
Yeah.
And so what it took was the statistics of last year to show Mike Norvell, this is crazy. This guy, anybody can go out there and find big guys to recruit. But can you go out there and find big guys to recruit who are D1 legitimate players who really can play at maybe the next level? Yeah. We haven't had that in several years. Several years. And we could spend a long time on that. But Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins being the offensive gurus of this team last year was a joke. Okay? Yeah. So bringing in Gus Malzahn, to me, is a huge upgrade. Huge upgrade.
And how big do you think, and you have to imagine that Gus got hired pretty quickly, and right after that, Thomas Castellanos gets committed. And so you have to imagine that, Gus likes his mobile quarterbacks, going back to Cam and stuff like that. He liked, and even last year at UCF, he likes the ability to use a mobile quarterback. So I think that match should help Thomas Castellanos, because if you look at what he was stuck in with Bill O'Brien at Boston College, it was not a system built for his abilities. And so I think I'm hoping to see an uptick in Castellanos' performance, and I think Gus got the right guy for him. They didn't wait in the portal to talk to 15 different quarterbacks. They identified who they wanted, and they got him quickly. And I do think that was a smart play by them. Thomas may have not been the most talented available, but he fit the system that Gus wants to run effectively. So I do think that was a smart play by him.
Yeah, there's no doubt that they went and Gus had I've never seen it reported. Of course, the media hasn't really asked Mike Norvell how big an influence that was, but there's no doubt Gus Malzahn, he is going to be held accountable for the offense. And so he should be able to go out and get whoever the hell he wants. Okay. And if they're available and the price is right, get the guy you want. Gus Malzahn wanted Tommy Castellanos, and that's his quarterback. Okay. The fit between with Tommy and Bill O'Brien at BC was not a good fit. They had a falling out, and Tommy was going to go someplace. So this is clearly an upgrade, both offensive coordinator and quarterback for Florida State, and they're going to win more games. The question will be how many and against who.
Yeah, absolutely. The next question, the third question I have for you here is we got to look at the backups, right? Because you lose Kromenhoek to Mississippi State, which I still think he got some weird back.
Not a big loss.
Not a big loss, but it's still a weird move. I think he had some experience. I think he had some upside, but not a loss in terms of a ton of experience or I still think it's a weird move, that whole story. And
Yeah,
he goes to the worst team in the SEC. He goes to another 2 or 3 win team in the SEC, and he's not guaranteed his
well,
spot.
he didn't want to sit. He didn't want to sit anymore.
He may be sitting there. I don't think he's
I know,
necessarily a starter there.
He knew Florida State was going to go out and get a quarterback, so he didn't want to compete. He didn't want to compete. I don't see it as a big loss. I don't lose any sleep over it.
Okay, that wasn't my main point here. But we got to look at who's still in the roster. You got Brock Glenn. You got Kevin Sperry. Brock Glenn coming back. He's your only returning scholarship quarterback.
He's your backup.
But let me list them all. Brock Glenn, Kevin Sperry is the guy who flipped from Oklahoma. He's going to be an incoming freshman, likely developmental prospect. If you're playing him, you're probably in trouble full time. And then you bring in Jaylen King from ETSU. He was playing at FCS, has experience. I wouldn't say it's high level experience, and it's not someone, once again, it would be pulling the emergency ripcord, in my opinion, if he has to come in and play a lot of minutes. So we look at that. We look at the experience behind Thomas Castellanos. We look at everything there. If we do have to go and say, do you see Brock Glenn being utilized at all in this if he's called upon? And do you think if Brock Glenn has to come in, can we still have a winning season? And two-part question, if he is called to come in, or if he is called upon, one, can we have a winning season? Two, how long is Castellanos' leash for mistakes and playing maybe poorly? How long is that leash for him? Like, is Brock Glenn, in your opinion, and maybe the crowd watching us right now, how long is that leash for Thomas Castellanos, or do you believe Brock Glenn is ready based on being now here in year 3 for him? He may not be quarterback number 1, but is he able to take over if really Thomas Castellanos just has a tailspin in his first couple of games, Alabama and then some, but if he can't put it together, is that leash short enough where Brock Glenn can step in and we still have that successful season of 7 or 8 wins?
Well, first of all, this football team is going to have a winning season, okay? Now, a winning season is could be 6 wins in a toilet bowl game, okay? A token, maybe I should say token bowl game. They're going to win at least 6 games. They're going to get to a bowl game. There's no doubt in my mind about that. The question is, who will be involved in those 6 wins? Now, I'm not saying that they're only going to win 6 games. Don't take my words wrong. They could win more than 6 games, but they will win a minimum of 6 games. Thomas Castellanos, if he's healthy, has a very long leash. He is the most experienced and productive quarterback on this football team, and it's his team. He's going to make some mistakes because when you have a little bit of a gunslinger, just like a Brett Favre would have games, he'd throw 5 interceptions, but he'd have a next game where he threw 6 touchdowns. He's gonna fumble the ball a little bit when he's running. He may throw some interception, but he's also has the potential to score. Throwing the ball and running the ball. He is the quarterback of this football team. Brock. Okay, Brock Glenn is to me right now the established backup on this football team. He is on this football team because Gus Malzahn probably went to him and said, "You do fit my system, okay, but you're not going to start." But given injuries, as we've seen on this football team, you have to be ready to go. All right? Now, can Brock Glenn win 6 games for this football team? I believe he could. I believe Brock Glenn can win 6 games on this football team. Okay, given the schedule that I see, I believe he could do that. Even if he started game 1, he could win 6 games on this football schedule. I don't think Brock Glenn is the future of FSU football. Okay, he has not shown that to date. He's played some football for Florida State. He's got some statistics out there, but they're not. He doesn't have that much experience. But he's played against some well-known opponents. On our past schedules. So the new guy, Jaylen King from East Tennessee, is an unknown, but probably is more of a mirror type image of Tommy Castellanos than anybody else on the roster, including Kevin Sperry, who's unknown. Okay, he's put up some noise in camp. that they like him. Some of that is to keep a guy engaged. But if Kevin Sperry's in the football game, we're probably in serious trouble. Now, could Kevin Sperry win 6 games? Probably not. Okay. Could he win a couple of games? Probably yes. Okay. But could Jaylen King win 6 games on this team? Maybe, given the schedule. Maybe, given the schedule, I wouldn't rule that out. The only guy I'd rule out is Kevin Sperry of winning 6 games. But anyway, now let me say this again. We may win more than 6 games, but I almost can guarantee we're going to win 6 games with any of these quarterbacks except maybe Kevin Sperry, who has no experience at this level.
You didn't answer my other question, though.
Did I answer it?
No. You answered part of it. The other part was, how long is Thomas Castellanos' leash? So if he struggles,
long leash.
How long?
Very, very long. Very long. I think because your only choice is to go to Brock Glenn or Jaylen King.
I just say, remember last year's scenario. Remember how many games we went and they wanted to pull DJ. You remember every week we were saying, is this the week? Is this the week? Is this the week?
Because DJU was a one-facet quarterback, basically drop back. His running was not there, and it wasn't really working. I think you're going to see them stay with Tommy Castellanos no matter what happens in the Alabama game. He's gonna be at least 4-1 in the first 5 games, 3-2 at worst. 4-1 in the first 5 games, and he's your quarterback through at least 5 games, at least. But I think he has a long leash. My question more is, who is going to perform? Who do you want performing in the biggest games on this schedule? And right now, I want Tommy Castellanos.
Yeah, absolutely, because like you said, behind him, I like
I don't think Gus Malzahn is going to abandon Tommy Castellanos. Quick. No.
But I do think Tommy's going to make some mistakes. He has a history of being a kind of a guy, turnover prone guy. And so that's what the fans they got to live with that. And they got to stand by that because he is the guy, they brought him in for this system. But also you have to, like the chart shows, behind him is not a ton. Brock Glenn has had experience, but he has not shown the ability to create a lot of offense. And last year we know it was tough, and we saw him in his freshman year in the ACC championship and stuff, and the Georgia, he's had a rough kind of growth period because he's been forced into situations, but he just hasn't shown me but I appreciate him sticking around and continuing to develop in the system so that he has that advantage. Jaylen King, he hasn't played at an elite level, and he has experience, but it's not, in my eyes, quality experience, and he is turnover prone. So I wouldn't want to force him in there, even though he's more like Tommy in terms of athletic ability. And you see his rushing yards. He almost has 1,000 rushing yards and 10 rushing TDs in his career. So if we had to fall back to a backup scenario, I think it's going to be a very tough situation for us. And because neither of those guys I would trust to handle this offense and trust it behind our current offensive line until I see them. Exactly. And neither of these guys, I don't believe, are going to be able to elevate the team around them based on an unknown offensive line, like you said. So, and I wouldn't want to throw Kevin Sperry in there and say, hey, good luck. That stunts growth. So we'll see. But like you said, I hope Tommy takes it. He takes care of it, and we don't have to rely on Brock Glenn or Jaylen King.
I think the other thing is Gus Malzahn also has to balance. He's going to have to balance. Tommy Castellanos wants to play at the next level. There's no doubt. Whether he's good enough to do that or not, I'm not here to say that. We'll find out. But Gus Malzahn and Mike Norvell are going to have to balance when they get into these cream puff games, which is a couple of cream puff games early in the season. Okay, we're up by X amount of points. When do I pull my star quarterback or my starting quarterback out of this damn game versus letting him get some stats?
Yeah.
Right? How do you play that out? We don't want to see Tommy Castellanos break his leg on a game or in a situation that doesn't matter. All right? Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who's on the schedule? Isn't it Kent State or somebody? There's somebody.
East Texas and Kent State.
Okay.
Right after Bama.
Against one of those two teams, at what point do you pull your starting quarterback out if you've got a hefty lead? You know you're going to probably win the game. If the game's close, he stays in. I get that. But if you're up by 3 touchdowns in the third quarter, do you still leave him in there just to pad his stats?
Yeah.
Because he's trying to pad for the next level, and you put at risk. You put at risk your whole season. I think that's important. You know, and sometimes I've seen these quarterbacks just stay in there for periods and situations that are unnecessary.
Yeah.
And you can sustain an injury, and then it changes your whole team and your whole season.
Yeah, absolutely. The other follow-up question I was going to ask about that is, and we kind of touched on a couple of my other questions, but I was going to say, you know, and you said taking Tommy out and stuff like that, and Brock Glenn and in the room, and we've just talked about a lot of the room, so that kind of answers a lot of the questions I had. But you know, if you're going to take him out, do you think that with Jaylen King's abilities, and I think he most mirrors, like I said, the Gus Malzahn offense. You know, Brock Glenn has athleticism, he has some decision-making issues, but so does Jaylen King from what the tape I've seen. So do you think there's any possibility that Jaylen King as a transfer in, he's got 3 years to play too. Do you think there's any reason why we should expect Jaylen King to become the number 2 just because of the way his play style is and how it more mirrors the Tommy Castellanos, Gus Malzahn offensive style? Or do you think Brock Glenn is essentially entrenched there based on him being here 3 years, his development, and his experience in the system and playing in real games with this offense and with Mike Norvell?
Yeah, I think it's a delicate balance. I really do, because you got 3 quarterbacks behind Castellanos. Castellanos will be gone. He's a single-year quarterback here.
Yeah.
And then the musical chair starts again. You've got 3 guys, and Brock Glenn's hoping to be the next guy up. Yeah. I think you have to go with Brock Glenn as the next guy into the game for whatever reason, physical injury to your starter, or to gain experience when the game's out of hand. Okay, when you feel the game is out of hand, you put Brock Glenn in the game to gain that experience.
But why him over Jaylen King?
That's the question. Because Brock Glenn's been in the system a little bit longer at Florida State, not Gus Malzahn's system.
That's what I'm saying.
They're all new to Gus Malzahn's system.
Yeah.
And I do think Jaylen King and Brock Glenn can run the ball too.
He's athletic. He's athletic.
And so I just think, a lot of it comes down to practice, and the practices are closed. So the FSU media really doesn't know what's going on there and who's better. You know, you just don't know. I just get the feeling, because you said Jaylen King hasn't played against bigger competition, whereas Brock Glenn has. Brock Glenn has played against greater competition. Yeah. And I think he gets the nod. I think he's number 2 for sure in the current system.
Okay. Yeah, I may disagree with you there. I do think I think we're going to see Jaylen King. There's some debate whether he could be redshirted, but once again, you can play 4 or 5 games now, and still that's been the rule where you can play 4 to 5 games and still not use it. So I do think he could be used as a kind of a change up for Castellanos, and he could be used as the running option sometimes to preserve Castellanos' body from taking hits over the course of the year. It could be a package for him, and they could be the same thing for Brock. You know, they could do the same thing for Brock, but I think that this is a reason why they jumped on the chance to get a kid like this. And I'm not saying Jaylen King had 35 offers from Bama and Georgia and all these schools, but I think, once again, he was a system fit. He had experience. It's in the kid that has only played in 2 games. But this is the guy that has experience, and I think that's the reason you bring him in. He's 6'3", 210. He's a big guy with athleticism that can, and maybe this becomes like your goal line package guy, or your 4th and 1, 3rd and 1. You always complain about we couldn't get those yardage even with DJU. So maybe this because Tommy's a small guy. You know, do you want him pushing the pile at 3rd and 1? Maybe that's why you get a Jaylen King, because he can maybe pass the ball. They still have to respect his ability to pass it, but he also can take it and run it, and he can get behind the line at 6'3", 200-plus pounds, and push it. So I do think you're going to see him in packages, and they may not necessarily redshirt him, but I think that'll be a decision that Well,
I don't think they're going to redshirt him.
Well,
he's like a junior, right?
But he has 3 years to play too.
Yeah, okay.
He has 3 years to play too, so he could redshirt.
I think that's kind of where we're at in terms of this quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Can Castellanos be effective enough? He's not. There's no way he's going to win the game for everybody. Everybody else has got to contribute.
Yeah.
And I think as we do other episodes and talk about the other rooms besides just the quarterback room, some of this will flow out because no quarterback can do it on his own. No. He can only do so much, okay? And we experienced that last year. And if we would have had a better offensive line and could have run the ball more, could have DJU been more effective and win more games than two? Probably. I think DJU is a nice kid, but a lot of responsibility and accountability falls on the quarterback no matter what. That was the worst line, and probably, I said before, the worst line in the history of Florida State football as offensive line. It was horrible, and the statistics pointed it out. Okay? Yeah. So we got to hope, and we're not going to know until Alabama comes to town here very soon.
And the other thing I'll note, too, and I brought this up earlier, is that last year it was almost weekly. It was like, when are we going to, get DJAU out, get Luke in? Thankfully, we won't have those questions this year. It won't be. We saw Luke. We saw him play.
And what changed?
But back to your point, could anything change with that offensive line? Could you put Tom Brady behind that offensive line and do it?
Yeah, he's not a running quarterback. He would have been. Killed.
But that's all I'm saying. It's like you would only put certain players behind that offensive line. They could do anything. That offense is so ineffective. So it's like it wasn't fair to Luke. It wasn't fair to a lot of players in that offense last year. But I don't think we'll have that same type of calling because there's not really. We've seen Brock. We know what Jaylen King. We have the SCF. The only thing I don't want to happen is I don't want people then saying we want Kevin Sperry. We want Kevin Sperry if things start to struggle early on. Guys, just let the coaches do their thing this year. Let Kevin learn the system. Let him develop naturally. Let's not go week to week with trying to get a new quarterback. Let it play out. This is our guy. This is who the coach is committed to. They got him early. They've been with him all summer. Let them do their thing. Let's not.
Everybody's looking for a hero, especially fans that are fickle fans. They always want the underdog. They want the hero. They want some guy who's going to enter the game, take over, and win the game. And I mean, it's not the odds are against that happening, and then you really disrupt your entire quarterback room. So,
for sure.
Gus Malzahn knows who the better quarterback is on this football team, and right now it's Thomas Castellanos. That's it. That's who we're moving forward with. All of that could change in one play. All of it could change in one play.
Absolutely. All right, let's move forward to big recruiting news that happened this past week. So July 6th, which was earlier part of the week, we got big commitment news from Chauncey Kennon. So Patrick Surtain continues to do his thing and land elite recruits or big recruits. And obviously, I say we need more elite guys on this team, or we need playmakers. We need guys that can come on the field first year, year two, year one, and start making plays right away. And that's what, if you get a 5-star guy, there's a higher chance than not that they can potentially do something. It doesn't mean they are, but I think a lot of times it gives you a better chance that they could. And you get Chauncey, you get that commitment on July 6th. You beat elite teams out too. Georgia, LSU, Florida. Once again, you're going to head around against the right schools for a kid, which I like. And you get this kid out of Sarasota. So I think this is a great win. But once again, we haven't seen enough of this. And this is the thing, and I'm not gonna poo-poo it. This is a great win, and this has been a great hire by Mike Norvell to get Patrick Surtain, and you continue to hope that he continues to do this along with development of the defensive backfield. You can keep a coach like this, but this is only the second 5-star commitment for Mike Norvell in his tenure, which is why I think you see some of the results we do on the field, because we haven't captured and gotten enough commitments from 5-star talent over Mike Norvell's tenure The only other one being Hakeem Williams, and that story's ended. But yeah, we haven't seen enough of this. So once again, we have to hold on to this until December. We got to keep winning. We got to keep guys interested. But I think this is a great start to the summer. Another great commitment. And this is a guy who's shown it in the high school tape that he can do it all. Other good factors in this recruitment: his sister attends Florida State. His family are Seminole fans.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
He's got a tattoo on his leg of Florida State that Seminole had a tattoo. So says it's his dream school. He's always wanted to be at Florida State. So and probably having Coach Pat as his main recruiter has probably played a lot into it, as well, and potentially having that person as his coach, former NFL guy, Florida State history, being there potentially to coach him. I think could say a lot about why this, holding on to this kid potentially for a while. But you never know. Like we said, we never know. But there's a lot of positive signs in those things with, like you said, family ties and stuff like that. But another great win. And he did say he's shutting down his recruitment after committing. But we know this is all fluid, stuff like that, and we don't know what the revenue sharing contracts look like now. But I'm very happy about this, and I think we all should be, especially the way we want it. Connections to the school, and I think we should be happy with this right now. Any thoughts or notes on this?
Well, I think him being a 5-star is important for the program, right? That doesn't mean he's going to turn out to be an NFL product. I mean, but generally, like you said, there's only been 2 5-stars in Mike Norvell's history here at Florida State.
Yeah.
And we know that the consistent top 10 programs in the country are getting 5 more, lots of 5 and 4 stars. So,
ratio, yeah.
So, the main thing is it's going to be very interesting to watch his development, to see Chauncey, how fast he can work his way through, if he does work his way through. Because Patrick Surtain, who I believe is wholly responsible for this, he's brought in some guys. He's brought in some seems to be quality defensive backs into the secondary. And I think, some of them have developed, some of them haven't yet, but most of them have stayed in the program. And so it seems to be that is one of the better talented rooms on this football team, and it'll be good to see how they play. But we also have to remember when a guy, he shouldn't have given up that 10-yard pass or the 15, is how much push are you getting up front? We often forget that one element of the offense does affect other elements, just like it does on defense, right? If you give a quarterback all day long, I don't care how good a defensive back you are, you're not going to be able to stay with a guy, okay, for 7 seconds. It's hard. It's difficult. So I think it's a good pickup. We'll see what happens. Now, we have to remember it's a verbal commitment. Now, under, all the current rules of the game, nothing's really final till you get a signature on basically the line now, legal signature, because these are all contract type players now, okay, under the new cap system. So we'll see what happens. Could another school like Georgia or Miami or someone else come and make a different offer? They could. I don't think there's any law or says that they can't do that. Correct?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, if he meets with them, if he's talking to them, he said he shut down his recruitment. So once again, it can be reopened.
What I do like, his family likes Florida State. His sister goes to Florida State, and he's got a tattoo that says he wants to go to Florida State.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty good indicator. He's coming to Florida State, and he's willing to compete. And as a 5-star, I do believe he will get some good looks, and they'll see really what he's got. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a plus for Florida State.
Absolutely. And then one of the final things I wanted to talk about was the ticket prices. So they finally released the ticket prices for Florida State. Well, one, we saw the sellout for that Florida State Alabama game, which is great. So 27K plus have sold out for that, which is great to see. That'll be an exciting game, exciting atmosphere. If you're going to that, congrats. That'll be a really, really great time. But they did, it got released what the ticket prices are looking like for single game tickets. I think basically for the non-garbage games, the non Texas, the games you actually want to go to.
Kansas State's like $20, and you can probably get in for 10.
But the other games, the main games you want to go to, you're looking at around $250 plus for single game tickets.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to pay a pretty penny to get in, and that could be expected because they just paid $265 million to enhance the fan experience, and improve the stadium. So, I could see both sides of this in terms of, is it good or bad or raising? Are you pricing people out? You're not pricing people out of the garbage games because you'll be able to get in, like you said, for $25, probably something around that to those. But if you're trying to take a family to the Clemson game or trying to take them to the Miami game or NC, you're gonna be in some trouble, or you're gonna have to start saving for next year because it's gonna be expensive. It's gonna be even more expensive than it was last year because once again they reduced seating and your fan experience just got better. So be prepared for that. But outside of that, if you just want to see the team play, go early in September. It's gonna be hot as hell.
You're not less of a fan because you can't attend the games. Okay, let's make that sure. Okay, you're not less of a fan because you can't afford to go to the games. Okay, let's make that very clear. All right, and you can have an opinion just like someone who sits there in the stands. Everybody would like to go to a game. All right, but not everybody can afford $250 for a ticket. That's one ticket. If you're going to try to go 3 people, you're looking at almost $1,000, and you're not even counting if you have to stay at a hotel, which all the hotels in Tallahassee are jacked through the roof.
Yeah.
Right. It's fun to be there. It's fun to go to a game, but the pricing now has gotten, especially for the big games. When the tickets for big games, you know what they are: Florida, Miami, Alabama. Who am I missing?
Clemson.
Okay, those 4 games will tell us about this football team. Those 4 games. If we could go 2-2 in that, I think a lot of fans would be happy, whether they're at the game or watching it on TV. We'll talk about that down the road. But if you lose all 4 of those games, that's going to be Tommy Castellanos' legacy. If he plays in all 4 games, he loses all 4 of those games, and that'll be on the team too, not just Tommy Castellanos.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're talking about affordability of tickets. It is really expensive to go to the biggest games on any team's schedule these days.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just not Florida. It's not just Florida State. It's just.
Now, I will say this: if you're looking for tickets, okay, sometimes you can score some decent last-minute tickets. Let's say the final week before a game on TickPick. TickPick, to me. It's all in. They give you all the upfront charges, period. We are not sponsored by TickPick. We wish we were, but we're not. I use them personally. Okay.
I told you to use them. I'm the one that referred you.
You told me, and I use them for a variety of concerts or sporting events. And I've scored some pretty what I call good value seats, and I will use those. And I will look at them even on this schedule. But, I'm going to be honest. I don't pay $250 to go to any game. It's not worth it to me. I've been to enough football games. I understand what it is, and but I'm a big fan. So just because you don't go, it's okay. It's okay, and you have an opinion that's valuable to as the rest of everybody else.
All right, a couple of ending notes I want to touch on. This week, people have been getting, or college football fans from other schools have been getting a little antsy about how Texas Tech is starting to spend their money. Obviously, they got some boosters. They got they're starting to get infusion. They're starting to play the NIL game. And this week, it was reported that they had signed a big deal to a 5-star offensive lineman, a 3-year, $5.1 million rev share deal. And so they had the rough breakdown of his deal with escalators. So, this is more like an NFL deal.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. It's really difficult for me to believe that they would spend that kind of money on some high school guy.
But you have to spend it. So who?
Well, you don't have to spend anything. I don't think.
Yes, you do. You do have to spend it, or you're not gonna. You have to play the game, or you're not winning.
Okay, I can't wait to see when Florida State signs an offensive lineman for $5 million.
Maybe we'll finally get a 5-star then, because right now we have 3-star offensive linemen.
Yeah, I am not totally bought in to all these 3 and 5-star things. To be honest.
Well, you've seen the last 7 years of 3-star linemen. How do you like the results?
No, I don't like the results.
So maybe we need to start signing some 5-stars and see if that works better. Yeah. See the flip side of it.
Okay,
because it doesn't seem to be working.
You have a $20 million cap.
Yeah,
you give $5 million to one guy.
You win in the trenches.
Well, that's true. That's true. I'm not going to argue that. We need help there. We'll see. Let's make sure we write down this guy's name. Is he supposed to be a starter at 5 stars?
At 5 stars. Well, that's why I think it's 3 years, because you have 3 years of development. You're not just going to pay him for a year.
For this kid and his agent. Wow.
So, and I think this was smart. This guy pointed out. So it's 8% of their cap in year 1, 10% of their cap in year 2, and 13% of their cap in year 3.
And just like in the NFL, guess what happens when the next 5-star offensive lineman pops up? His agent says, "Well, that guy got $5 million. My guy is better than him, and I'll show you how. We want $7 million." That's how this game gets played. Most teams are not going to be able to do that. I don't think Florida State could do that. I don't think
they're going to play the full 20.
I can't wait to see the first guy that Florida State will pay. Do you think there's a guy on this football team they paid $1 million to? I don't see it. I don't see it.
I don't know.
I can't name one guy that I think is a sure product to the NFL.
Well, we could have a show where we say who would our $20 million go to? That could be a whole show. So
now when they go the $5 million for this kid, is that a cap on that class year?
Yeah, so that's what this guy was saying. It's year 1, it's 8% of their cap. Year 2, it's 10% of their cap, and year 3, it's 13% of their cap. So each year, that's how it kind of.
Incredible to me, incredible. But what I do like, if those numbers are correct, I love the transparency of the numbers.
But it's not smart. It's not smart, though.
Well, I don't like seeing the numbers. Well, you know what is smart?
It's not smart for the school. It's not smart for the school.
No, but you know who likes that is other players. Other players.
Yeah, it's not smart.
So if you're giving, what is the number 1 ranked quarterback in high school getting if this offensive lineman's getting $5 million? What's he getting?
Probably 3 to 4x that.
Those numbers are just crazy, even under this cap system, which they thought it would settle it down.
It's
very interesting. Very interesting.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So a couple of other things I wanted to call out. The other thing I wanted to call out. So that was a big thing. Yeah.
One thing to tell Jaylen here. Jaylen says the NCAA needs to regulate NIL because Jaylen, and you tell me if I'm wrong or anybody out there listening, that there's a difference between signing onto the roster under cap, and I know I'm not saying it exactly right, and NIL. This kid could still get NIL deals.
Yeah, correct.
This is the cap thing is different than the NIL deal. Okay, this kid could still go out and get a deal, an NIL deal with Ford and Toyota in Lubbock, Texas, or wherever they are. I think that's Lubbock, and make even more money. So there's two different bags of money here. The NIL deals he signed does not count against that cap, in my understanding.
Yeah, and I think
Is that
that's
your understanding?
Yeah, and that's why I think some people are getting frustrated.
Yeah, I don't want to get down in the weeds on this stuff, but there's two different bags here, and I think everybody's starting to think it's all one bag. NIL, it's not. It's not.
Well, and that's why you saw, Prime. He got all excited about it this week at Media Days. He basically said there needs to be a hard cap on everything.
Well, I think. Oh, you're saying a combined hard cap of NIL and how much a kid can make between NIL and
he wants an NFL-style salary cap that basically that.
I think it'll go that way someday. I don't think he's far wrong from that.
Yeah, that's basically what he was saying this week. Is that he called it bull junk? That quite frankly, we're sick of it. Nobody's saying it, and I'll say for everybody that. It's getting chaotic because these NIL deals and because now they have a clearinghouse for submitting NIL deals and
I read that. I read that their certification is kind of a certification process is so far behind. Supposedly, guys are losing deals now.
Well,
I'm not sure that's true.
They built a system through Deloitte. They worked with Deloitte to build out.
Deloitte's a good accounting firm. Yeah, I mean they're a business or whatever.
And so. Yeah, you submit to this thing, but people now feel that it's human reviewed, so that some deals that should go through aren't going through, and then some that basically look the same are getting approved. So it's like very, there's a lot of discrepancies on. It's really based on the human reviewer, and it's not based on any kind of algorithm or AI reviewing it. So they're getting frustrated with that. And like you said, people are waiting too long, so deals aren't getting done, and people are losing money, and then money's coming from elsewhere, and it's just like, so I get both sides of it. I understand what people are saying. I don't think there should be multiple revenue streams. I think it should be, this is your team cap, and because like you said, there's no cap existing on NIL deals. There's no cap on that, so that can lead to, like, as Prime is saying, uneven player compensation and market, disproportionate market of. These schools are be able to pay their players up to $50 million, whereas these schools can only pay their players up to $25 million based on their booster size and NIL size. Stuff like that.
There has to be some kind of a total cap. I think the team cap thing is a start in the right direction. The NIL thing is going to be more legal, I believe. I really believe that's going to be more legal than anything.
Yeah, because right now, like you said,
why can you tell a player he can't go out and sign another deal? He signed his cap deal for X amount. What stops a guy from? That'd be like telling you can't go out and get a job for DoorDash on the side unless your contract or your employment says you cannot do any other work outside of your work. And there are contracts like that.
Yeah.
You can't go out and so on. But money is money, and we live in a capitalistic world, and we're seeing the results of that too, which is all good. I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it also drives up the price for fans.
Yeah.
Okay, it drives up the price for fans.
The other thing it's kind of related to it, is be on the lookout if you're interested in, if you're kind of done with a lot of college football, NIL, cap, people are trying to change the transfer rules. They're trying to roll them back. And some people say they're trying to roll back the power of athletes. But they're trying to roll back multiple time transfers. So look up the SCORE Act. That's something that's being discussed right now. And that would basically turn back into a one-time only annual window transfer. Pete Nakos reported this earlier this week. It's going through Congress, I believe, our U.S. House right now. They discussed this earlier this week. It's still in the very early stages, but I believe this is something that needs to be discussed, and that there is some doubts that this will get it fully approved in both houses. But this is something that is being discussed. It's being, on the legal legislation side, that they could basically take away, 3-time transfer players and roll it back to the one that we were used to in the early days of college football, or the college football before NIL and before, the caps and crap like that. So it'll be interesting because this has progressed. There's news continuing to come out. So this is progressing more and more. So if you're interested in that, the SCORE Act, kind of keep that as a Google alert, and we'll see how that progresses. But it's still very early right now. And right now, as I call it 24-hour 365 free agency, because that's what we have right now, it feels like. But that's something to keep marked on your poster board to see, because that would change the landscape of college football in my eyes too. If you can only transfer once again, I think that does make me more interested in college football. If you have a hard cap plus a one-time transfer, I would love to get the old days of college football where you saw development within a program, where kids who buy jerseys now can know that guy's going to be at that school for 2-3 years, maybe for his career at least, or 3 years until he graduates and then transfers, right? And that's not just to lock a player into a bad situation. If that player's getting paid, great. Enjoy your time, get paid, develop, and build ties with that program, right? And let fans invest in you. This basically transferring every 6 months is just. I think it's going to kill college football at some point, because fans are just, if you don't love the NFL and they're basically pushing the NFL policies onto college, I don't see how people are going to continue to love college football, even with all the pageantry. That'll eventually erode away too. It will. They're going to turn the college game into NFL.
I think these words are empty when people say, "Oh, it's going to kill college football and all this." I don't buy into that. I just don't buy into that. I think people will always like it no matter what the rules are. I don't even understand how these rules end up in the U.S. Congress. Even the legal stuff, how does it elevate to this level that, that the U.S. Congress, the House, that somebody introduced an act or a law. Now, if it goes through Congress, then they'll make it a law. And a law means that's the law across the country till somebody challenges it. And there are enough guys out there to challenge these things, getting it paid pro bono by some lawyers, okay? Because all these changes have come through that type of legal system. I would like to see a more, maybe I could see once, maybe twice, of transfer windows. I could see that, and then fine, lock it down. I can't imagine the NCAA couldn't have done such rulings by themselves, but apparently not. They're so scared of lawsuits. And there'll be more lawsuits to come on different issues, I'm sure. But the NFL has their fingerprints all over college football. They've had for many years. It's the personnel system for college football. For the NFL. This is where the players come from. And the NFL doesn't pay anything. I saw an article the other day about can college football players start wearing logos on their jerseys, sponsor team sponsors. They could just sponsor a kid, one kid, Toyota of Tallahassee, or Chick-fil-A of Tallahassee. Okay, or does maybe the whole team could wear that, just like you see in professional soccer overseas, right? Or soccer here sometimes. Money is money, and it's going to be generated. And if a kid thinks he can't do it, he's going to sue somebody. He's going to sue somebody for that right to do that. That's kind of where we are today. So I just don't think fans are going to go, oh, I'm not going to watch that shit anymore. It doesn't happen. It's too exciting. It's too much. They may say, what they could say, KB, is I'm not going to go to the game. I'm not going to spend the money, go to the game, go to the hotel, go eat out, drive my car there, pay expensive parking, and I'm not going to do that. I'll watch it on TV.
Yeah. No.
Which sometimes is a better experience than going to the game.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
The only thing you miss is when your buddy comes home, oh, I was at the game when we won. How many people do you see, hey, I was at the game when we lost? You know? How many people do you see that? That's not a great experience when you lose. Okay? So you're hoping to be there when they win, right?
Yeah.
But you're paying a hefty price. And I guarantee most people going really can't afford it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They're throwing it on charge cards, hoping for that winning experience. It's exciting as hell. I've been there. I've been there at some big games. You have been there.
Yep.
And it's exciting. And you'll never forget it. But can you do it? You know, how many times can you do it if you're taking a family of 4 or even just 2 people? So.
Yep. All right.
You know, I heard some FSU media, top media guys, saying, well, we got to go up to the ACC meetings in Charlotte. How the hell are we going to get up there? We're going to drive? They looked at the flights from Tallahassee to Charlotte. It was like $700 round trip. You know, because Tallahassee is a small
that's not a real airport.
Regional airport.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so you're going to pay. So, you know, or their boss is going to pay or whoever. But yeah, it's expensive.
All right, final thing I want to wrap up on is some basketball. So there was some basketball news that came out this week. The first thing I want to touch on is obviously new coach Luke Locks. Big thing for him this year is that he wants to build the FSU brand back. He wants visibility. He wants competition. He wants the development through competition. And what he's done is he's basically scheduled tough. And with that, he's scheduled tough out-of-conference teams, which will bring television, which will bring, obviously, you may not have the greatest roster, but, you know, kind of iron sharpens iron kind of approach. And he plainly said, I want to play the best and see what we have and get better. He also wants to get on TV, and he wants to expose the basketball brand to potential recruits and people watching games. And so right now you've got scheduled 3 of the Final 4 teams from last year. You have Florida, you have Houston, you have Duke, who's obviously on your ACC schedule. But this is a very, very tough schedule for a first-year coach who has no head coaching experience. But I want to give him kudos for not doing some soft scheduling, kind of setting himself up to get, because you look at Florida State's schedule some years. Obviously, they play Florida and stuff like that. But some years you look, and it's not just Florida State, but you look at some team schedules and you're like, oh, how, they start off like 10-2 or 8-2, and it's like you look at some of the teams on the schedule, you're like, these teams are garbage who they're playing. And basketball, you can do that a lot because there's a lot of teams that want to play in Division I basketball, and you can get them scheduled in. You're paying them, but I give him a lot of credit for scheduling very, very good teams, and I think his strategy of building the brand back, at least getting them on TV. And if you steal a couple of these, that will pay dividends back to you. You may not, and they may go 10-20 this year. They may go 50-20, but I mean, that's, you've got to build it somehow. And then you see what you got on the roster. You see who you want to keep, and you see the guys who are fighting, the guys that have upside, and the guys you want to invest money back into, right? Versus guys who may not have it to play against the best in the country, versus playing Tallahassee Community College or Florida Gulf Coast, something like that, and winning by 15 and saying, okay, great job, guys, we got to win. Doesn't matter when we're not going to win the ACC anyway. So I appreciate this approach, and I think he's doing a great thing there. Any quick comment on that?
Totally agree with your approach. I think it also brings. He also knows that it brings in better players because they want to play against. Yep. If you're trying to go to the next level in any sport, you want to play against the toughest competition. And so whether you win or lose, you're still getting looks, right?
Yeah.
You're still getting looks against the best competition you can play, and that's from the scouts.
Yep.
Scouts are at all of these games, okay?
Yep.
And they also evaluate you against the competition you play. That has been the problem, I think, in some of our recruiting in football. We bring in these big offensive linemen, and this guy played at Clearwater International Academy. Who the hell did they play? Who is he lined up against? Same thing in basketball. They want to play against these type of teams, not East Tennessee at Fulton State. These kids, to get the right players on your team, you've got to build the competition.
Yeah.
You may lose a lot of those games, but they're good games, and your team will get better.
Well, that was the Bobby Bowden strategy, right? We'll play anyone, anywhere.
And that's what he did.
Yeah.
Because I went through those lean years, 73, 0-11, 74, not much better. 75, Bowden starts coming into the program. Because they almost canceled Florida State football. Not many people know that. That's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because the money drain was so bad. Yeah. So he had to take the team on the road, play the best people, take some losses, but he also got good recruits starting to come in to play the best.
And I think that's the exact same strategy here.
And
when the media perceives the ACC as not being as good as it used to be, well, then go find the good teams and go head to head against them and be on their stage and get the media attention and get your brand out there.
And basketball, a ticket to the basketball game has always been a very reasonable ticket cost-wise.
Well,
and if you love
a lot of these aren't at home. These games aren't at home. So
no. But I'm saying the games at home for Florida State, the tickets have always been very reasonable for men's and women's basketball. If you like basketball, you can go to the Tuck Center and for a very reasonable price.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you're getting into a decent game for $10.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
I don't know. I don't know how they make their money, but
kudos for Luke Locks going on the road.
I think Luke Locks is all in. He's going to do his best, and I think fans should appreciate it. So if he loses some games, give him a break. All right?
Yeah. And then last word from basketball is we wanted to give Ryan Reed passed away, and I remember him from some of the good teams at Florida State. He was a great defender, and yeah, he passed away just recently, so just want to give a prayer out to him, and because I do remember him from watching basketball, Florida State basketball, and he was a really good player, a tough-nosed player on that team. And when they went
did he have some years overseas and playing international?
Yeah, I believe they said he played like almost 10 years overseas. He got drafted second round, but he found more. He got drafted by the Thunder, I believe, and then he played. It says here almost 10 years. Overseas, France, Canada, Puerto Rico, Japan.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand how many American college basketball players go overseas. There's a lot of professional leagues overseas, and they have careers over there.
But he was part of some great teams at Florida State, and he was a great player. So, like I said, I remember him for his defense. He was a prolific scorer, but he did his job, and he was a great player.
Neither was Dennis Rodman, who was NBA legend. So. Shout out to Ryan Reed.
Yeah, so prayers for him. So, but yeah, that's gonna do it for us. Good conversation tonight. Obviously, we talked about the quarterback situation. So let us know your comments. You agree, disagree with anything we said tonight. We talked about ticket prices. We talked about some NIL. We kind of went in the rabbit hole with NIL, revenue sharing. There's just so much that's evolving every single week around that. New news coming out there. So
we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We'd love to get some new subscribers on here. Hit the bell, then you'll know when we're coming on. We're going to try to have a show each week, if possible. Even if we're on, one of us is on the road, we're going to try to do it. And as we say, no hugs, no kisses. We're going to tell you from our perspective.
Yep. And next week, we'll probably be doing our next positional preview and question show. So it'll probably be running backs or receivers or skill positions. So stay tuned for that. It'll be Thursday or Friday of next week. So hit the bell so you get the notifications and stay tuned to us. Follow us on Twitter. The old man's always posting something crazy over there. So go follow us on Twitter as well. But once again, we appreciate the time. We appreciate you watching. Thank you again for giving us a follow, watch, and yeah, we hope you enjoy
Have
your
a great
weekend.
weekend.
Yes, have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, and we will see you next week. And as always, go Noles. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye, guys.